a film critic. So I married a film critic. So I married.
Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic, a discussion between a professional film critic and lecturer and me, his wife of 20 years, who just likes to watch movies for fun. I'm your co-host, Julia.
And this is Barry the Film Critic. Hello, everyone. Get ready to be knee-deep, if not waist-deep, into the thick, murky swamp of rom-com city tonight. We are going full on into the world of gooey, sugary, not spicy, just soupy.
Where are you going with
rom-com.
this? I'm going to stop you right there because we are talking about an amazing romantic comedy called 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, 10 Things I Hate About You. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Things I Hate About You completely. Is that the full title? Oh, you messed the title again. I even wrote it wrong.
Hi, Andy Anderson from Composure Magazine.
Our resident how-to girl.
I want to write about things that matter.
What are you working on now?
How to lose a guy in 10 days.
I could start by dating a guy and then drive him away.
Doing everything girls do wrong in relationships.
I can sell myself to any woman.
I'd like to see you prove that.
You would.
Make a woman fall in love with you.
You're on. So who's the lucky girl?
Her.
Her who?
Her in the gray dress.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Barry.
Andy Anderson.
Oh, you are already falling in love with me.
I'm going to make you wish you were dead.
Hey there.
Gang's all here. And other girls dream that they'd be Ben's partner. They'd be Ben's partner.
Oh, no.
I used Photoshop to composite our faces together. Oh, that's our wedding. You're the kids in Switzerland. You're loodling.
Our kids are really attractive. So it's like a dog, right?
We're still on for poker at your house this weekend.
Woo! Boys' night. You giving him a boys' night? Think of it! I have to crack this guy. I mean, this is DEFCON 5. Blow. Nobody likes the Mr. Sniffles. Come on, step it.
It's over, man.
No.
My boyfriend thinks I'm fat. I can't eat in front of you.
I don't think she's fat.
You outside!
Oh, my God.
And after all this, he still didn't leave you? Okay, he's just a little tougher than I thought.
Where's the sexy, cool, fun, smart, beautiful Andy that I knew?
He loves you.
Can I see you tomorrow?
This February,
Delivery, Andy.
Oh, my God.
a simple assignment that was supposed to last 10 days
Oh, he's really cute.
is turning into something
Lana, I can't write this article.
that could last a lifetime.
I can't write it because it's just... I've gotten to know this guy.
You're beautiful.
You'll write the article. I want copy on my desk in 48 hours.
Where's Andy Anderson?
She's not here.
Paramount Pictures presents
Andy!
Kate Hudson,
The woman is driving me crazy.
Matthew McConaughey,
Hey, it's good to talk to you, though, man.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
True or false? All's fair in love and more.
True.
Great answer.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well done. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Things I Hate About You Complete Me. That is the full title of this generic romantic comedy. No,
I think I just proved your point.
yeah, well, let's see. So this was made back when Matthew McConaughey didn't know really what he was doing with his career, because the first half is interesting because, this is a guy who was a character actor for a while, Dazed and Confused. He jumped, in that film, a lot of movies he popped, but then along comes Time to Kill. Time to Kill led to Amistad and Contact and some really interesting stuff for some really big name directors. But then came this period, the Wedding Planner period, a really unfortunate period where it's like this guy is a dynamic and interesting actor, and now he's stuck like doing the roles that Richard Gere wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. So this is that period, and this is, I got to say, the best of his romantic comedy vehicles. It is. It's better than The Wedding Planner. It's definitely better than Failure to Launch. I don't know if I'm missing any.
I don't know, but...
Oh, you know what? Yes. Fool's Gold. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
The de facto awful quasi-sequel to this movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. No, this is the best one out of the ones you
It
mentioned.
is. Yeah. And I love McConaughey. He escaped. God bless him. He like a phoenix escaping from a roaring house fire. He escaped from this period of his life and had the McConaissance. which all of us film critics, we celebrate. This guy, after being in movies like Surfer Dude and Failure to Launch, what did he do? He went indie. He was in The Lincoln Lawyer and Killer Joe and Magic Mike and Dallas Buyers Club. Like, I mean, he just went for these scripts that a lot of actors wouldn't go near. And he proved how interesting and versatile he is. He had hits like Interstellar in there too. I love McConaughey. I love how he came back. I still like, I'm drawn to his choices because these are interesting choices. He reminds me of Tom Cruise back when Cruise went for like, you know, some really like, okay, like you got to love to act and you have to be a really, you get a nitty gritty actor to take on some of these roles that he's been doing lately. So I'm a fan. He's good in this though. He and Kate Hudson are good. I guess we'll talk about the plot now.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Oh boy, you're excited to talk about 10 things I hate about you.
I can't believe I said that.
How to lose a guy in 10 days.
Okay, so I do love this movie, and again, it's going to be hard to talk about without just quoting the whole thing, but I will do my best.
Now, when did you first see this movie?
Rein it in. Well, you said we saw it.
We saw it on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
We did.
Like 20 years ago.
We've had two experiences that I can think of. I'm sure there's been more, but two experiences where we're in a movie theater, a trailer pops up and like, oh, it opens on Valentine's Day. I know what I want to do on Valentine's Day. I'm like, yeah. You always follow through. This was one case. The other one that was agonizing was Titanic.
3D.
Oh, man. Because, like, listeners, it's October, right? And they're saying, like, Titanic is going to come back for 1 week, Valentine's Day. So, I mean, this is months away. And they're advertising a Titanic 3D, IMAX, uncut, back in theaters. You know, this is the 10-year anniversary. And, you know, you're like, oh, I really want to see that on Valentine's Day. And I'm going, oh, okay, she's going to forget about it. No, you marked your calendar. We went on Valentine's Day. I can't think of a better thing to do on Valentine's Day than sit in a crowded theater with those heavy glasses on, watching people drown in 3D for 3 hours.
Hey, it was memorable. Well, Kate Hudson plays Andy Anderson.
Notice the initials, everybody.
And I don't know why that's important, but...
Because what's his name?
Benjamin Barry.
Oh, AA and BB, they're meant to be. Oh, some lazy. And does anybody else have a last name in this movie? No.
Yes, they do. You look on their IMDb, other characters have last names.
Bob,
he is lying.
Susan, George.
No, he is lying to you,
Just
listeners.
like one or two.
Stop.
One or two characters.
No. All right, so... Andy Anderson works for Composure magazine, and she writes all the how-to articles. So we have the opening credits of just like her in various situations, and the opening credits are fun. It's a little teenagey though.
It's super girly.
Yeah.
I'm just going, wow. I remember being in the theater. Like, this is gonna be painful. Just put the bit in my mouth right now. Just chomp down hard. Just hang in there, Barry. It's gonna be 2 hours of this.
But it gets better. Okay, so we meet her.
Eventually.
Yeah. And we learn that she wants to write about politics and things that she's really interested in, you know, but she works for Composure. It's like working for Cosmo, you know.
By the way, fun fact, at no point in the movie does she ever talk about politics. At no point in the movie does she ever indicate the things that she supposedly wants to talk about so much. It's strictly a plot device. This does not come up. She has a distinction between acting dumb and acting smart, but she never comes across as the intellectual giant who is belittling herself at this magazine that she always tries to come across as.
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, she does read part of the article that she wrote out loud, you know, that's like supposed to be political.
Yeah, but I mean,
but it's like one sentence.
It doesn't track. Like, she never, no political affiliation. At no point is she like, what do you think of Gloria Steinem? Like, nothing like that. I mean, seriously, it's just always like, it's always just, I'm not happy with what I'm writing here, and it's like, no, be happy. You're writing at a major magazine. You're obviously getting paid enough to live in New York.
Yeah, this was the part I thought, this is unrealistic. She writes she writes one article a month.
Yeah.
And she's getting like a full-time salary.
Yeah.
I mean, who's going to be upset
and
about
she's
that?
Unhappy. Yeah, ridiculous. You know what? Andy Anderson, write a book.
Yeah.
Write your big political book. Like, what do you think? Like, one article in Composure magazine? Like, that's going to bring me to the top. Top of what?
I'm like, you know, she could freelance. She could freelance under a pen name. She could do anything.
Exactly.
But she's like, oh no, I work for this magazine where I have to write about like I don't know, lipstick and high heels.
She's Carrie Bradshaw. It's the dream. You're living the dream. Enjoy it, Carrie Bradshaw. Andy Anderson.
I know. That was like watching it. I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, look, as somebody, I would be. It would be ridiculous for me to a professional writer. I wouldn't call myself that. I'm someone who writes, and occasionally I get a check for what I write, and I love to do it, and I've been doing it for a long time. But I mean, you have to find. I mean, look, even Stephen King wrote for Playboy for years. So for years, that would be the only outlet that would publish his work. I mean, everybody has to start somewhere. But where she is so enviable. Yeah. There's like these movies about like rich yuppies that I'm so unhappy, and they've got these 5-story houses with like hot tubs on the ceiling. I'm so unhappy. I need to go on a vacation. Yes, girl, we need to go on a vacation together. It's one of those movies.
Yeah. I know. She gets like NBA Finals tickets. She just has like...
Life's so boring, and nobody wants to date me. Just I feel like I could write that Pulitzer Prize winning book about. I'm not buying it. Not buying it. And I almost said Anthony Anderson. Andy Anderson.
Okay, so Andy has a staff meeting in 30 minutes, and then they realize that Michelle is not at work. And Michelle is played by your favorite,
Catherine Hahn.
Yeah. And Andy has to go to her house because her boyfriend broke up with her. It's very dramatic. Now we meet Benjamin Barry, played by Matthew McConaughey, and he's on his motorcycle. And I don't know, I didn't like his reveal with the helmet coming off. Thought it was too sweaty.
Well, it is Matthew McConaughey. I mean, what do you want?
I know.
A better thing would be if he pulls in, right? Takes off the helmet, it's him, and then he just takes his shirt off right there. Like, it's just too hot here in Big Apple. I don't know why I keep this shirt on.
I know. I wouldn't have noticed the sweat if the shirt had just come right off.
And I got to say, McConaughey gives a very restrained performance. He waits a whole 11 minutes before he takes his shirt off.
Did you time it?
Oh yeah, it's folks, it's on the money. All right, from the time he takes off his helmet to the time he gets to his office, it's like 11 solid minutes before that shirt comes off.
Yeah,
that shirt never had a chance.
And all the office girls are ogling him.
That's right. Right.
Honestly,
can't have a male gaze, but oh, that female gaze. Right on.
Okay. So, all right, let's just get into like the premise of this film. So Matthew McConaughey works for an advertising agency, and his boss gives all of the like high-end clients to the Judys.
His boss is played by Robert Klein. We've talked about movies he's been in before. This is a well-respected, some would say legendary, I wouldn't, but a well-respected stand-up comedian. I don't know anybody who owns any Robert Klein albums, but he's a veteran stand-up comedian, also a great character actor. He's popped up in a lot of films. So it helps that he's playing this part a lot because he understands the needs of this part, the kind of screwball comedy feel that the movie's going for.
Mm-hmm. Right. So Ben wants to take this high-profile diamond client, and the Judys are like, no, it's our client. So he's kind of fighting for this.
The characters, the Judys, are introduced, and then McConaughey, Benjamin Barry, refers to them as lips and hips. And I said, not only is that so perfect, that should have been the title of the movie.
Yeah.
Lips. I would see a movie called Lips and Hips right now.
Okay. All right, so now we're at the Composure staff meeting, and this is where the boss is asking Andy like what her next article is on, and she's like, well, it's kind of political, and she's like, no. When you make your, column a must-read, then you can write what you want. But until then, you write what I want.
Her boss is, again, the casting really helps because this script is not great. The boss is played by Bebe Neuwirth, who I think most people would know her from Cheers, but she is a Broadway legend. She's
she
awesome.
Was in Cheers?
She was Fraser Crane's, I think, ex.
Oh.
His really morose ex. Her hair was always slicked back and she always spoke in a monotone. It was really funny because she's dynamic. I think she's probably best known for Chicago on Broadway.
Okay, so we're kind of like, we've heard about Michelle, and why, like, her boyfriend broke up with her, and she's kind of talking about all the things she did wrong. And Andy's just like, if I did all those things, I'd be broken up with too. So the idea is now the boss wants somebody to write about Michelle's breakup. And she's like, no, you can't write about my life. So Andy's like, how about I do it, but like a dating how-to in reverse. And you know what? this is not really a new idea, like what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
But her editor is just like, ooh, like this is a brand new thing nobody's ever done before.
We used to have wheels made of squares, but you just made a circular wheel.
Yeah.
You are reinventing the way we live. The way she's talking about
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. By the way, Catherine Hahn's playing Michelle. Not only is Catherine Hahn so dazzling in this movie, her character is a psychopath. The way she talks about how her prior relationships went. This is Fatal Attraction all over again. She's nuts.
Yeah.
And the film always dances around that, which is really interesting to me because if this was a male character, this would not be funny. It's like, oh yeah, I can't stop talking about her and I show up outside her house and I have a boombox over my head.
Well, because they're like
the stuff that she describes is crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
But because she's playing it
because
very
she's
sweet.
really cute and nice.
Yeah, again, like casting is everything here, but it's amusing to me because it's like a little bit of an adjustment, and this character could be frightening or the villain of the piece. Instead, it's like, oh, it's her wacky best friend who's just really insane.
All right, so now Andy's new assignment is the article How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and she has to go out, find a guy, and do this, keep a journal, do the whole thing. So as they're leaving, the Judys are meeting with the boss of Composure, and the boss tells the Judys what Andy is doing. So now we have this crossover, right? And that night, at this restaurant, all of our cast of characters end up there, and this is where the deal is struck that Ben has 10 days to make a woman fall in love with him so that he can get this big diamond account. And the Judys see Andy and they're like, that's the one you have to make fall in love with you.
Listeners, if it sounds contrived, it's because it is. There are two kinds of romantic comedies, all right? There are the ones about the lie. It's all about a lie. So it has to end with, I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you the truth, but I just couldn't. The lie. Or the bet. I made a bet that bet? That's what I was, a bet? This movie has both.
That's true.
This movie has, so it's while you were sleeping with what my best friend, my fair lady and Pretty Woman, and there's, it's an amalgam of all these tropes that have worked before. Beyond lazy and a little bit desperate too. And I gotta say, like, the way they set the story up with all these characters, in the same room talking to each other, it feels really contrived. Like there had to be an easier way to get into this concept, right? If anything, just have them meet each other and then establish, like, oh yeah, like, like have Goldie, I almost said Goldie Hawn, have Kate Hudson go up to McConaughey and we just see them talking. Have the movie start that way. The opening credits, it's them meeting cute, and then they go back to their respective buddies. He's talking to his buddies, she's talking to her buddies, and we establish, oh, it's a bet and a lie. Just do that. This whole business about corporate espionage, it's this is as bad as that subplot in My Best Friend's Wedding. It's like that. It's like the movie does not need this. It's a very simple premise, but the movie makes it like it's 12th Night. It's not. It's very, very basic.
Don't you think they try to make it more complicated so we're like more invested though?
Well, it's desperate if we need two of these. If anything, like have it be like, okay, they're both lying. They kind of are, and then make it both about a bet. Like it's just too much. It's two contrivances butting heads with each other, and the movie only needs one. Okay,
so they meet cute at this bar. And they have this cute conversation.
They really hit it off, yeah.
And they go to dinner, and then it's like, let the games begin. And I'm thinking, okay, here are these two very attractive people, and they really seem to have good chemistry.
Yeah.
But, like, they're going to both, like, go forward with this, like, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that makes them think, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this because I really like this person.
Right. It's mean-spirited.
That's the part that I'm like, that's the unrealistic part to me, because her doing her article on the How to Lose a Guy, I didn't find that contrived. I thought that was pretty like, okay, that's her assignment. This is what she does for work. His bet thing, what boss is gonna like bet, okay, because they said this account is worth like $70 million or something like that. He's gonna base his decision on this guy saying he can get a woman to fall in love with him. That's the part that's very unrealistic.
And to think that McConaughey doesn't think as a failsafe, this being New York, City of Dreams, Big Apple with Broadway, he can't find an actress who just step forward and be like, I'm in love with him.
Yeah.
It's just that simple, folks. There's actresses you could throw a stone in New York and hit an actress, certainly one who's serving you at a restaurant. There's actresses everywhere.
Yeah, he could be like, I will pay you $1,000 to come to this event in 10 days and pretend to be in love with me. All you have to do is convince my boss. Done.
I completely agree with you, Julie, because it is ridiculous that these two meet each other and clearly there's chemistry. Clearly they're very attractive and clearly like, oh, this person's a keeper. This person's a find. And they think, oh, I got to go. This is the person. No, like if anything, like aim lower. Hold on to what you've got and then go to a really bad bar or do the thing I said, like go to the Stella Adler School of Acting. Like find an actor who can stand in for you.
Like there's no way that Andy couldn't have found just like some loser, went on a date with him, did like 2 of the things her friend did to get broken up with, and that would be the end of it.
If she's that good a writer, and apparently she thinks she's like a Woodward and Bernstein level writer, couldn't she have come up with a contrived article that was just as good, if not funnier, than anything that actually really does happen to her? Does it have to be autobiographical?
Yeah, I know, because she's like, well, I'll keep a journal. I think that's why in her mind, she like has to go through with this because it's like, well, I'm keeping a journal and my boss is going to be reading it. Like, who cares? Just write whatever you want in the journal.
I'm not trying to be mean. I really am not. But like, if I'm Kate Hudson, I go to a party and I meet someone who looks like Matthew McConaughey. I'm not thinking I'm going to use this guy. I'm going to victimize him. I'm going to torture him all for the sake of an article in Composure. No, if I go to that party and I meet Christopher Walken, okay, then I'm like, okay. All right. This guy is strange. He could barely finish a sentence. This is going to be my victim. Yeah. I'm going to write a story about him.
Exactly.
And a really good movie would have him be, brilliant or impenetrable the way that McConaughey eventually becomes. Like he refuses to break up with her. Because that's what the movie becomes. It becomes about how these characters are willing to go through this endurance test that the two are putting each other through.
Yeah.
That's the comedy of it. But I agree with you that there are problems from the start. Helping immeasurably is the fact that Catherine Hahn is so good in this, and got to give a lot of love to Adam Goldberg and Thomas Lennon as McConaughey's best friends. These guys, okay, these are those characters in romantic comedies. They have no inner life. All they care about is the main character. Yeah. All they do is ask, like, so how's it going, man? Have you asked her out yet? Hey, man, I hear like Valentine's Day's coming up. You gonna get anything for the girl? And they're talking to him like while they're on the Stairmaster or while they're like in the office or they're, playing pickleball, whatever. It's like these characters, romantic comedies are littered with these useless characters that just spout exposition. And these two actors are excellent here. It helps so much that they have real chemistry with McConaughey and they're so good.
They're really funny.
They make these nothing scenes so much better. I wonder how much of their dialogue they're just throwing out there because these scenes should not work as well as they do.
Yes. Okay, so after their first date, he's kind of like, you're already falling in love with me. And she's like, you're going to wish you were dead. All right, she leaves her purse at his apartment on purpose with the Knicks tickets.
Clever.
Yep. And the next day, he sends her 100 roses. Like, this guy must be a millionaire. 100 roses?
Well, as we know, if you live in New York, which is a very inexpensive place to live, and you work for
an ad agency,
and a gossipy magazine, of course, you can afford not only 100 roses, but can afford to live in an apartment that could have fit maybe 14 of my college dorms inside of.
Yeah. All right. They do go to the Knicks game, and this, she's cool, and but then it's like the end of the game. She asks him to go get her a soda with 1 minute left, and Ben misses the end. And oh man, you were like, this is so mean.
Yeah, this would be like, because I'm not, look, surprise, listeners, I'm not a sports guy, but if it was the Oscars, all right, and they're about to announce Best Picture, and you were like, can you go get me some gum? I'm like, oh, okay. And I come back like, I don't like sugary gum. Can you get me some sugar-free gum? Yeah, and I run back. That's the equivalent here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, so she flips the switch the next day because that's what they keep talking. And they go to a chick flick marathon. Matthew McConaughey ends up getting punched out. I mean, you and I were laughing quite a bit through the things that they end up doing together.
I mean, I guess I'll just jump to it. I mean, this movie begins badly and ends badly. It's got a great second act. The second act of this movie has real teeth because it is, it's all these sitcom contrivances, and it's taken all these scenes really far. These scenes are so funny. I love it when he gets forced to the chick flick marathon. I love it when she tricks him into seeing Celine Dion in concert.
Yes.
I love all of this. This is so funny. The middle of this movie is hilarious.
Where, he makes lamb and she pretends to be a vegetarian. She brings over stuffed animals and decorates his apartment.
That part kills me. Yeah, like she basically secretly makes his apartment her own, puts her stuff everywhere. She puts all of her girly stuff in his medicine cabinet, which freaks him out. I love all of this stuff. It's aggressively funny, and it is making fun of romantic comedy conventions as opposed to the rest of the movie that just totally slave to them.
So then she brings over a love fern, and he's just like, what's a love fern? And she's like, it's a baby, we have to nurture it. It's like our love. I think one of the funniest part is when she tries to distract him over the fact that she knows the ending of the Knicks game because she tricked him. And so she grabs him and she's talking about she names his member, as he calls it.
Be careful, we've been flagged before.
I know, but she's like, does Princess Sophia want to come out and play?
Hold on. You can't call Princess Sophia, okay? Can't do that.
So and then he ends up saying Krull the Warrior King. I mean,
do you know where that comes from?
What?
That's a movie called Krull.
Ooh.
Well, it's a science fiction action
Krull
movie.
is gross looking.
Well, that's the bad guy. This is the good guy.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, no, I don't like that at all.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good.
But the next day, Ben talks about evil Andy, and then she brings the Chinese crested dog to his workplace and names him Krull.
Comedy gold. This dog, the best reaction. I mean, it's a dog that's ridiculously cute, but so obnoxious. It's a perfect mixture.
He's not ridiculously cute. He's so weird looking.
He's really cute.
He's hairless.
Well, he's weird because she puts him on a sweater. So yeah, he's weird looking, but he's adorable, and he pees on everything. So he's a really funny comic foil. I mean, it's one of these things where the movie doesn't miss whenever it cuts to him for a reaction shot.
Yeah, that's true.
It's good stuff.
She makes a family album with pictures and Photoshop, and I think this part is probably the funniest scene for me because he's just like, oh, you made a family album of he's like, we don't have any children. She's like, oh, we don't have any children. Come on, sit down and look at this album with me. And the mom calls and wants to talk to her. And, he's like, wait, you're talking to my mom now?
And I love that you mentioned it always reminds you of how you and I once went to Dave & Buster's probably 20 or so years ago. We went into this booth. They took a picture of us, combined our pictures, and told us what our future child would look like.
Oh my gosh.
It was a little girl who looked like Linda Blair from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I still have that picture.
It is the creepiest photo ever. And I think part of us were like, ugh, if that's what our future daughter looks like, maybe we shouldn't have kids.
It looked like a little girl who's trying to hurt you with her smile.
And she had a really weird hairline and the hugest forehead.
She did. And it looked like her skin was about to open up. It was pretty amazing. Whatever that computer did, it combined our faces in a way that was very unnatural. Yeah. I love that picture.
And that's
so
what
much.
Andy does with her and Ben's pictures.
I put that picture on our fridge for a while, and you're like, I can't deal with this. So I have it hidden on my shelf over there.
Okay, so then there is a poker night, and in between all of the crazy things, she's talking to her friends I don't know how to break this guy. What's going on?
It's great, yeah, because he has to stay in the bets because he needs to hold on there for 10 days, otherwise he's going to lose his office to Lips and Hips. Mm-hmm. And then she's got to hold on to this because it's for the sake of the article. She has to torture this nice guy. So yeah. So it's a fun. The contrivance is fun because of how crazy these scenes are. They're real Looney Tunes.
Mm-hmm. I know. I think the guy night I read was a little bit ad-libbed by her. And so she brings sandwiches and
apparently they're really
vegetables.
disgusting. Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, you guys can't eat pizza, yucky pizza, and just being really silly.
She makes them put out their cigars. Yeah, she's just really
she blows
obtrusive.
his nose.
Oh, that's great.
All right, everyone in for a buck. Next card, 5, 9s and 5s, 9s and 5s. That's back to you, T.
Ooh, 9 and a 7. Go for the straight.
Round 2. Tony Bone, you're up, man.
She told you my ham.
Peekaboo!
Oh, hi!
Hey. Guys, you want to play cards here, or what's going on?
What game are we playing? We're playing Hold'em?
Okay, you get your 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, who's betting?
All right, I'm already matched that. We got a 9 up. 9 up, guys. 9 up, 9 up.
Blow. Nobody likes Mr. Sniffles.
I hate Mr. Sniffles.
Come on, stubby head. Good. Oh, white. Healthy boy.
Good.
Healthy.
Tom, get your
Oh,
head on
no.
there, please. Are we playing?
Oh, no.
Our love fern! It's dead.
No, honey, it's just sleeping.
You let it die. You gonna let us die? You should think about that.
The hell's a love fern?
And then she notices that the love fern has died.
Yes.
And so she's like, you really need to think about our relationship, Ben, and leaves. And the guys are like, because it's kind of like they've broken up now.
Yep.
You know, like that's it. And the guys are like, no, like you have to stick with this because otherwise, you know, you're not going to get this account. And so they're like, couples therapy. That's their idea. And he's like, I mean, Matthew McConaughey looks like he is going in to like fight in a ring the way he has to like pump himself up to go talk to her again. So he suggests couples therapy. And that's when Michelle pretends to be their therapist.
Yes, because Kate Hudson's character suggests, I know of someone. So they go to this office, and it's Catherine Hahn pretending to be the therapist. It works because, again, Catherine Hahn's character is really unstable. So so she's clearly checking out McConaughey as he walks in. Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a classic sitcom sort of thing. But again, like the actors are really bringing it. And the scene goes to some really outrageous directions. It's
right.
good.
So they end up saying, because he's like, you know, you can talk to my mom, but just you went behind my back. And
that's right. Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah.
And so she's like, well, maybe you guys could go to Staten Island and, you know, for the weekend. And Andy is just like looking at her friend like, what are you doing? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But they end up going. And I feel like this is now, you can tell that things have changed because after their time in Staten Island, Andy's hair goes from straight to curly.
Oh man, that's how you know.
That's how you know. That's the rom-com thing. When the hair changes.
Matthew McConaughey makes your hair curl?
Yes.
I mean, he just does that naturally. Don't people walk out of movie theaters with curly hair after seeing a McConaughey film, especially a shirtless McConaughey movie?
Okay, do you want to talk about the time at his parents' house?
Yeah, it's like a different movie. Suddenly the film loses its teeth and gets all ooey gooey sugary from this point on. It's not interesting because it's inevitable because, as you've said from the beginning, these actors have great chemistry. They're very good together. They've got a good rapport together. So inevitably there's going to be a scene where they're in the bathroom and they take their shirts off. Of course, McConaughey takes his off first because it's that kind of a movie. And, you know, there's the fade to the window with the billowing curtains, and inevitably, the family loves her, and they've never seen him so happy. She's the first girl she ever. This movie just like it loses its edge. Because the middle of this is really funny. It's like a series of really funny skits, really. I mean, it's like a Saturday Night Live skit, a series of them that really connect, they really work. And again, it's like it's making fun of a lot of these really corny conventions. I love any romantic comedy that's brave enough to admit that, you know what, for all of her incredible vocal dynamics, Celine Dion concerts are kind of lame. I like that this movie is like, like it is torture for most men to sit through a Celine Dion concert.
Have you ever sat through a Celine Dion concert? No, you have not.
No, but...
So how do you know it'd be lame?
You know what I have done, though? I saw Titanic twice. The second time in IMAX 3D. And both times, 6 hours of that film, that song blared. And by the way, after that movie came out, I heard that song on the radio every day for a year.
Yeah. Do you think it would be worse than seeing Mariah Carey and Shania Twain, which we also saw in concert?
I suspect if I saw Celine Dion in concert, not only would it be a transformative experience, I would probably get like the letter CD like tattooed on my shoulder. This movie, in the center of this movie, the middle 40 minutes, everything connects. And then once we get to the business of the family and all the after stuff, it's back on automatic pilot again.
Right, because then they take the ferry back to New York, and then he drops her off at her apartment and is like, hey, do you want to go to this gala with me tomorrow night for work? And this is like the big event where the boss is supposed to determine if like she's actually in love with him. And she's like, oh, isn't tomorrow like the 10th day we'll have seen each other? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, maybe by then we'll know. And it's like, no, what? That doesn't even make sense. He doesn't even know what you're talking about.
Right. And by the way, the Staten Island Ferry, if you've ever been on it, movies always romanticize it. One of my favorite movies, for that matter, one of my favorite romantic comedies is Working Girl with Melanie Griffith. The Staten Island Ferry is like a symbol in that film of the have and the have-nots and social separation. In real life, the Staten Island Ferry is one of the least romantic experiences you'll ever have in your life. But romantic comedies, they always make it like, this is the moment. And no, I mean, it's like going on, public transportation. You're never going to be like, man, that bus ride was something magical. Something happened.
Yeah. I know. It's probably like taking the ferry from Maui to Lanai. Do you think it's like that? I mean, I get sick on that every time I go. I do. I get really seasick. Do you get seasick on the Staten Island Ferry?
I've never been seasick. No, I enjoy it, but I mean, it's not, let's just say like the hand sanitizer comes out the second you get off. Just sitting down on that, you can catch all sorts of things.
Oh, man. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we have the big gala. I know.
It's a weird contrivance too, because something more should have came of this. The fact that you go to this gala and it's just that it's run by this billionaire diamond baron couple. So you go to this thing and they put, the necklaces.
You get to wear jewels all for the evening.
And apparently it was real. I also looked over the IMDb trivia page, and apparently that $6 million necklace that Kate Hudson wears in one scene is real. Something more should have came of it. It should have, there should have been a chase afterwards where, whatever, he's chasing after her, and then like 17 people in suits are chasing after her because she's.
Well, they did, but she didn't get very far.
Yeah, but I mean, otherwise, like, might as well made it a fondue party. Like, who cares?
Okay, well, what do you think about the fact that the boss like goes up to her and is like, "Yeah, you're in love"?
I hate this crap so much.
Yeah,
I hate this stuff. I hate it when characters find out the truth in these movies, and instead of just being like, "Oh, okay, you lied to me the whole time, but I met someone I'm in love with," okay, which would be real, as opposed to these movies like, "You lied to me this whole time, like we could have been, was it ever real? Was it ever real?" I hate this crap. I hated it while you were sleeping. I can't stand it when movies do this.
Because I think in real life, they both would have been like, wow, we both played each other.
Right. And be like, oh, well.
I know.
But hey, like, we got each other. You're great with my family. My family loves you. I'm in love with you. It's a shame that we haven't been honest with each other until now. But hey, like, let's get our fingers fitted for wedding rings, because clearly this is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's only been 10 days, but we should start over, basically.
The deception, the duplicity.
Okay,
like, come on.
Because then they end up singing "You're So Vain" in front of everyone.
So dumb, this scene.
I know. That's the part.
I feel so bad for Carly Simon. It's like, is that the most embarrassing residual check ever? Like, from that How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I got another check from that movie for that scene where those actors butcher my song.
I mean, I don't think she cares if the money's coming in.
I've said it on a prior episode. I'll say it again. Outside of Matt Damon and Jude Law and the talent of Mr. Ripley, karaoke scenes in movies are awful. We should not have to endure them. They're just embarrassing. And this is no different.
Okay, so now everybody knows the truth, and Andy tries to get out of writing the article, right? But her boss is like, you're a professional, so you have to do it. So she writes the article and it gets published, and then Ben gets the Diamond account. So, they're both like, whatever, continuing with their professional life. But then Andy just like leaves her job at Composure, her plush job.
So dumb. So what now? She's going to go and be a political writer? What, a People magazine? Give me a break.
I know. I'm like, where? So they show her like leaving, like to move. And I'm like, where? Is she going to Washington, D.C.? Like, where is she going?
I'm going to write for a publication that covers politics and things that are real. I'm writing for the National Enquirer.
Like, maybe she thought she was going to write for, like, I don't know, a major newspaper?
And again, listeners, the movie never establishes
like Time magazine?
Her political thoughts on anything. She does not come across it. I mean, if anything, maybe she has a passion for sports, right? So maybe she would apply for Sports Illustrated. But like, this movie makes it, that she's like, what, Karen Silkwood? I don't know. Like she's like, no, she's not that kind of a writer. And the film never establishes her as such. So this idea that, she's just too good for Composure magazine. No, you are exactly the kind of writer for Composure magazine.
Mm-hmm. And again, you write one article a month, so you have time, to do other things. So anyways, Ben's buddies, they tell him to read the article that she wrote.
It's the equivalent of, the speech of like, go to her, man. Just go to her.
Yeah.
And he starts running and you hear, ain't no mountain high enough. It's like one of those movies, except in this case, he says, just read the article,
okay,
man.
because like the beginning of the article is like, I lost a guy and I don't know why. That's the opening sentence. And I'm like, yeah, you do. You do know why.
And this is what made Baby Newworth like lose her mind. Like, we are reinventing the wheel.
She's like, this is the best thing you've ever written.
Pulitzer Prize, here we come.
I was like, that opening sentence totally sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what else sucks? The screenplay.
Yeah, well, I know. It's not Andy's fault that she's a bad writer. It's the screenwriter's fault.
Yes.
All right.
All three of them. Two of which were responsible for writing 102 Dalmatians.
Well, Benjamin is like so surprised at this article that he goes off on his motorcycle to find her, and the song "Anywhere You Go, I'll Follow You Down" is playing.
No, awful. And so he goes. Yeah, he's on the GW bridge and he's looking for a yellow taxi cab that might have her in it. And wouldn't you know, folks, he finds her.
He finds her. But you know what I find creepy is like he's wearing his motorcycle helmet and he's going up to these cabs like really close and like looking inside. Like if I saw that, I'd be like, am I being like carjacked right now?
I'd just say, welcome to New York.
I know. So the cab pulls over and they have their whole like, he's like, where are you going? And she's like, I need to go where I can write what I want to write.
The character is come on. Oh my gosh.
I know. And he's just like, you can write here. Like, where are you going? And then, he calls her.
You know what she needs to write for? 17 magazine. That's exactly the kind of writer she is.
So he calls her bluff and she's like, okay, and then they kiss.
and that's it, folks.
And I guess they get back together and then their love fern is there. And, Benny boo 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 and Andy are back together.
Yeah. And again, folks, this is the best of the Matthew McConaughey-led romantic comedies. Thankfully, he doesn't make these kind of awful movies anymore, and he has moved on. And I think for the most part, so is Kate Hudson. I see her do character work primarily. And I think the last thing she did that really jumped out at me was in the movie 9, which is not a good film, but she's very good in it. But if they ever made one more movie together again, that might be fun. But you like this movie so much more than I do.
Well, okay. We talked about how the beginning could have been better, and we loved the middle. But the ending, I mean, how would you change the ending?
Everything about the ending. For one thing, I wouldn't have this movie lose its bite. I mean, have it go even further. I mean, have it be that they never reveal the secrets to each other, that the relationship is fun and spicy. He becomes sadistically stuck on being with this person who is hot and cold all the time. Have it be a love triangle with her and Catherine Hahn. So he's like in this triangle with two crazy women. Have it end with a wedding where they're both going through the wedding vows, but because they're both, because he'll endure anything, and she's still trying to torture him.
Okay, but they don't have
have, guess who, Gilbert Gottfried marry them.
Okay, you need to stop because they don't have any reason to keep this farce going on after the 10 days.
But when the farce goes away, the movie isn't interesting. Because as you've indicated, it's obvious these two have chemistry. It's obvious they're going to end up. And there's no tension there.
Okay, so what she should...
At least Pretty Woman, which I don't like either, but at least Pretty Woman had the gall to say, you know what? Maybe it's not going to work out with these two because she's a prostitute. At least Pretty Woman had that going for it. In this case, it's like, he barely does anything. She thinks she's God's gift to writing. They clearly need each other. They clearly like each other. They clearly click. I know,
the only thing is that she's suddenly moving all of a sudden. And that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but that's always the thing in these movies. And especially, I mean, if she's a New Yorker and her home base is here, plus she's had to work how hard to make it as a writer in New York, let alone at this very posh magazine.
Yeah, just to give all that up.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Okay. Well, so he shouldn't get on his motorcycle and go after her on the Washington Bridge? What should he do?
I would make it that that he only likes her when she's crazy.
Oh.
I would take it that far. It's like, really? You don't want to why aren't you yelling at me no more? Like, if you had some spice, what happened to the spice in our relationship?
Because he tells her that he's like, you're up, you're down, you're all over the place. He doesn't like that.
Yes, but I'm saying that
he should.
Anything to make this movie interesting.
Only a psychopath would like this type of person.
But most of the movie is her acting that way towards him, and it's funny. Most of the movie is Catherine Hahn acting like a crazy person, and it's funny. When the movie becomes all gooey, it's not interesting.
So when they're normal and cool, we don't care.
Where's the tension, Jules? There's nothing but inevitability, and that's not interesting. That's why I hate Lifetime TV movies.
Yeah.
Because it's like, whatever. Christmas for the Holidays, starring Lori Loughlin. Those movies, you know exactly how they're going to end after 5 minutes, and there's no tension. There's eventually a horse and carriage ride, and they kiss in some town square where there's Christmas lights everybody, and there's people skating, and the camera pulls back. I'm sorry, but this is boring. This film could have been a lot of fun had it just been a little crazier. The thing about Wedding Crashers, all right? Mm-hmm. Wedding Crashers, it's not a perfect movie. It's over long. It's over 2 hours, which is definitely no comedy, especially that one should be over 2 hours. But you know what? That movie is nuts from beginning to end. It's nuts because Bradley Cooper is terrific in that movie because you hate his guts. You really hate him. He's great in that. Rachel McAdams is dazzling. Isla Fisher is insane in that movie. Jane Seymour is insane in that movie. And and the two leads, even though it's a bromance, but it's Owen and Vince Vaughn. They're killing it. That movie is nuts top to bottom. This film could learn from that. And Wedding Crashers came out 2 years later, but I mean, that's a movie that it has integrity, and it is all about a lie, right? And at the end, Owen Wilson has to apologize to Rachel McAdams, and it's not a given that she's going to take him back because not only has he been lying, but he's a creep who goes to weddings and preys on drunk young women.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying Wedding Crashers is one of the great movies. I think I've only seen it once or twice, but what I'm saying is if you're going to go as nutty as Krull the Warrior King and the little crested creature dog.
Chinese crested.
Yes. And a movie that actually acknowledges a chick flick marathon as a torture device, not to mention a Celine Dion concert as the second torture device. and has the poker scene, which is so wild. I mean, it could have been sitcom. Instead, it's very inspired. Like this movie, it has the guts to get really, really not edgy, but like it's the comedy again. It has some teeth on it, and then it just all goes away.
Yeah, I do agree, because the ending, I was like, oh, okay, now they're together. All right, it's over.
Yeah. It's time to get the keys, go home. Yeah, because they're together. And because that's another thing I don't like that romantic comedies do. It ends in a sense of finality. And they lived happily ever. Really? Like, no. Don't worry. They lived happily. But really, are they really perfect for each other? I mean, the whole thing was a contrivance and they lied to each other. No. Don't worry. Don't worry. Must love dogs. You've got mail. All those lies. Don't worry. They'll work it out. They're going to be married together for, and I'm going, no. I think in real life, most of these couples break up a week after the movie takes place. Most of these movies.
So how many stars did you give it?
Because the middle 40 minutes of this movie is so hilarious, 2.5 stars. And because the work by Thomas Lennon, Adam Goldberg, Kathryn Hahn, Robert Klein, and the two leads is so good, I think there's a good movie in here, but I don't think the film is good. So I think the amount of hilarity in the middle of the movie is refreshing, but the beginning and the end of this movie are really bad.
Yeah. Okay, well, I give it probably 3 stars.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I do like most of it. Even the contrived beginning, I just don't think that, honestly, if you were to like, these two people met this way in real life, I think they would have told each other their like plan and been like, hey, we could help each other out. Like, obviously we like each other. That kind of maybe would have been a better idea. If they told each other what they were supposed to do for work and then helped each other. So instead of lying to each other, they lie to everybody else.
I mean, look, like you and I we've been in relationships where we've been lied to, but like if I found out this whole time, like it turns out like you were a rival film critic who had been hounding me this whole time on the internet and you'd been sending me these anonymous emails the whole time, like, oh, you're Ralph? You're Ralph?
Causing you psychological torture?
Yeah. I'd be like, that's surprising, disappointing, a little hurtful, but we'll get past that. Real people have real conversations. It's not like this. I was living a lie. No, come on. Grow up, people. No. If you're with McConaughey or you're with Kate Hudson, look, it's going to be all right, okay? The bumpy things, plus you have an apartment in New York City and you're writing for the equivalent of Vanity Fair, like, it's going to be okay.
Oh, no, Vanity Fair, that's being very generous. Well, I mean, we laughed. We had a good time, so I don't regret it. I think this kind of concludes our summer movie. Not the summer movies that we're doing, but like probably the romantic comedies. We're probably not going to do another one for a while.
Folks, watch Notting Hill again. It's funnier, it's smarter. It has characters that have an inner life. It has supporting characters that have lives outside of the plot that talk about things that are not just the plot. It deals with a complication, not a contrivance, a complication. This idea of a regular person trying to have a romance with somebody who is world famous, how difficult that is. The movie actually deals with it in ways I find satisfying. The ending of the movie, yes, they're all in the car together, like, go to her. It does have one of those endings, but I think the film is aware of it, which is why it works. So if you suffer through How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, also known as 10 Things I Hate About You, also known as How to Lose a Guy and 10 Things I Hate About You, Complete Me. If you suffer through that movie, I'll tell you the antidote is Notting Hill. If you want to see a mainstream movie that came out around the same time that's actually so much better and smarter than this, or if you want to see a Matthew McConaughey movie, basically see any movie that he did that's not a comedy. Yeah. Because McConaughey is a great dramatic actor. It's not that he's not funny. It's just the movies aren't worthy of him. He really, other than Dazed and Confused, comedy is not his thing.
Somebody wrote on this IMDb page that romantic comedies are Matthew McConaughey's like strong suit, and this is like the best type of movie for him. And I'm like, really? Did they write this 20 years ago? Like
he had a strong fan base. I mean, look, his body work is interesting. I mean, before this, he did the movie Frailty, which was written and directed by Bill Paxton. Frailty it's a disturbing film. He's great in that, but no one saw it. So of course he's going to go back to his wedding planner bread and butter. And that was Jennifer Lopez's genre for a while. She was doing like the kind of movies that Barbra Streisand used to do. But the thing is, even Barbra Streisand stopped making those kind of movies. And thankfully, I think Jennifer Lopez has too. These movies can be done well, but often they're not done well often. They just aren't. There's too few great romantic comedies, and most of them are indie. Most of them are just a little sharper and stronger than what we got here.
Yeah. Okay, well, if you do want to watch it, you can stream it on Paramount, or you can rent it on Prime. So there you go.
Well, maybe they want to see 10 Things I Hate About You more.
Oh, well.
Where can they find that?
Okay, let me look it up. Just kidding. Okay, well, I think we did
Do
it,
I like
babe.
that one more? I think I do like that one.
I think that one is a little bit better.
Yeah, Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one is actually funnier.
Yeah, I would agree.
Is that the one that has the line, "I don't want you getting jiggy with some boy"?
Yeah,
Does that
that's
come from
the
that movie?
dad.
Yes.
The dad is hilarious.
Yes, yeah, that's Larry Miller
Like,
who
I
says
don't
that
want you
line.
going getting jiggy with some guy. I don't care how dope his rat is.
Yes, yeah, I do prefer that over How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
All right, well, thanks everybody, and we hope you have a good night.
All right.